Hello, this is Tonya R. Lewis with the Diary of Dating Over 50. Now, we're here with this beautiful young lady. Okay, so let me tell y'all. Y'all know this week is 404 week. I think Atlanta is the only one that celebrates that. But we have a native, and y'all know how I do it. We're going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hello. So I am Tonya Freeman, and I am a native of Atlanta. And I went to the University of Georgia.
Did you?
I did. Got a major in statistics. I got some brains.
Oh my, numbers.
And I am recently retired from the Centers for Disease Control. I retired. I did not resign, and I didn't get fired.
Oh my God.
38 years deep.
Wow.
So yeah, and I have a daughter in college. She goes to UG as well.
Oh, she's taking after her mom.
That's right.
And I heard you might be pink and green.
That's right, pink and green. We know what that means.
Okay. I always wanted to join a sorority, but I never went to college. So I might have to do a street sorority's name. Okay. All right. So we're here. We're just gonna relax. We two girlfriends sitting on the sofa, and we just gonna talk. Okay, we're gonna find out about Tonya because there is not that many natives here in Atlanta. The melting pot has just poured in. Like, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. You know, so many people live here, and so we're gonna find out how the natives date in Atlanta, how they did back then, how they doing now. But first of all, we're going to find out some more stuff about Tonya Freeman, sitting here with Tonya R. Lewis. All right. All right. What was it like growing up in Atlanta, and how did the culture shape your early views on relationships?
Okay, so growing up in Atlanta was absolutely wonderful. A lot of culture here, a lot of history that people do not know about.
Like what?
Like the Civil Rights Movement. Like the airport being named by our first African American.
So the airport is named after, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Maynard Jackson. Maynard Jackson is our first African American mayor.
Wow.
A lot of diversity, a lot of black people that have done very well in Atlanta, and but a very nice southern city with class. So growing up was fun. As far as dating, back in when I was growing up, I'm kind of old school, so I really didn't start dating until probably college, to be honest.
Wow.
Of course, we all have, little flings or guys that like us in high school, but I really didn't start dating until college.
Well, she went fast like us North folks. We started dating in elementary school. Okay, so when I first came to Atlanta and I pulled up downtown Atlanta, I had a culture shock out of this world because I come from up north, and I grew up with a lot of white people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I drove downtown Atlanta, I was like, I got on the phone and called my girlfriend. I said, girl, I don't know if I made a good decision. Because it was so black, but it was a lot of homeless people too.
Oh, okay.
And I heard that comes from people moving to Atlanta and not having a plan B.
Right. So let me ask you this. I know you're asking the questions, but
That's
what
okay.
year did you say you came?
I came in 2016.
Oh, that's why. That is why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so back then, when you was a little girl or younger, homeless wasn't like that.
No, we didn't have a lot of homeless. We didn't have a lot of homeless, and I think what really happened is once we had the Olympics in Atlanta, we got a lot of influx of folks that just stayed in Atlanta, and then people just kept coming to Atlanta, and we were saying welcome to Atlanta. And Atlanta is a city that you'll come to and have a great time, and people end up staying.
Yeah, because I worked downtown Atlanta, and our hotel, I worked at the Marriott, and our hotel's filled up all the time when people coming, first timers coming to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you share some memories of dating in high school, and then give me some in college?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, I really didn't date. However, I did go on prom dates.
Did
so
you?
I did do that. Went on prom date with one of my best friends, and still one of my best friends today.
She went on prom with her best friend. Her mama knew
and I
what she
did,
was
and I
doing.
did
Her
go-
parents knew what she was
I did go to the prom with some guys that probably liked me.
Okay.
I did go to the my junior prom with a guy that we probably would have dated, but I really hung out a lot with my relatives, with my cousins, and like you're saying, you don't know a lot of people from Atlanta, but you got to think about I'm really from Atlanta,
Right.
and my mother and my father met in Atlanta,
So they met here?
yeah, so and they were high school sweethearts. So
Were they?
yes.
Wow.
So good examples, but dating in college was different.
Did you let it go?
I let it go.
Did you let it go? Did you get loose? Y'all know I'm asking the
Right. She gonna ask the question. But anyway, yeah, I really probably had my really first boyfriend in college. I had a heartbreak my freshman year, and I had a boyfriend my sophomore year.
If you could say something to that heartbreak, what would you say to him right now? Boy!
Yeah. Look, one thing I do tell my daughter is do not get caught up. Stay focused or whatever. Boys,
Is she
boys
staying
can break
focused?
it hard. Yes, she is.
Shoot, I done had heartbroken as a
Men can
a
break it hard,
grown
right?
adult.
Grown men can break it hard.
Yes.
Then
Heartbreak is
then
hard.
we grow older and try to manage it, but yeah, heartbreak is heartbreak.
Yes, it is. It is. Okay. So, how did the family and community influence your dating choices when you were younger, or let's say when you was in college? Because your parents, were they strict on you?
I would say well, maybe so. My dad was a true father figure. I wouldn't say they were super strict, but it depends on what your definition is. We were allowed to date, but we did have rules. So we had curfews and things like that. Had high expectations. Both of my parents were educators.
Were they?
Yeah. So definitely.
You was expected to go to college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to college or definitely get a great job doing, whatever you can do a great job. So, you said how did it influence my dating going into college? So, like I said, my parents met, they were high school sweethearts, and a lot of my aunts and uncles were. So, of course, your heart is always looking for that love of your life. For me, it has been that. And so, went thinking that I would find the love of my life.
Did you choose a man like your father?
I would probably say he would have some similar characteristics. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Because they say we emulate our
Yeah. So in dating versus marriage, but they do a lot of times say you look for people that have, that's like your father. Yeah.
Okay. So my dad, who was around me most of the time of my life, because my biological father passed when I was young, but my bonus dad, he was 6'4", so I like being that was 6'4".
I love a tall man.
That's because we're so tall.
I know, and sometimes they say you miss out trying to want a certain type.
I know I done missed my husband because I had this guy tell me. He said, because he was 5'9", he said, you're going to miss out and you're going to miss your blessing. And I said, I probably already have. Because the guys that liked me that were 5'9", you wasn't either.
No.
Okay, so did I hear you say you worked for the CDC?
I did.
Okay.
I'm retired now.
How was that?
It was awesome. So I'm so happy to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about
So I went to CDC straight out of college, summer student, graduated, went back. Never thought I'd be there.
So you interned there?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, my major was statistics, so I did a biostat program. Then I went into statistics as a statistician, then a computer specialist and IT support, and then training, and I led our mentoring program for the whole agency.
Oh, wow. What that consist of? Where did the students come from?
So the mentoring program for us is peer-to-peer. So someone might be in the epidemiology field and they might want an epidemiologist as their mentor. Someone might want to transition field. So someone that worked as an administrative assistant might want to become a statistician, you know. So, but overall, CDC is an awesome place to work. A lot of culture.
Were you around there when COVID came around?
I was.
I was working there.
I worked there 38 years.
Give me a day of that.
A day of COVID.
Of COVID at the CDC, because you guys were hit pretty hard.
Okay, so let's say this. To be honest, I remember it more from a perspective of, working at home and then working at home full time.
Okay.
Because I was working at home like 50% at home, 50% in the office. So to me, the biggest change was working full time at home and adjusting to that schedule. And I would say, and especially having my daughter just started high school, so it was very abrupt for everybody. It's adjustment for us, just like the American public. And
how was it when you walked in that building? Because I'm sure there was a time you had to walk.
So
the first time when COVID first hit, and you had to walk in.
Okay, so let's look at it from this perspective. So we were, going to work, but then you're sent home because of COVID, because you have to protect yourself, just as a person more so than an employee. And the other thing that a lot of people don't understand about CDC is like centers. So it's not just one big building.
Okay.
One, it's like 12, 13 different centers. Also, the labs are separate from your everyday offices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So was it hard for Black people to get with the CDC? Maybe in the early of your 38 years there?
I would say this. I would say any challenge with us getting a job. That's why the DEI thing is so huge now. Of course, it was definitely challenging. You all definitely gotta have your credentials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we talked about that. Tell me something. I know my viewers want to know too, because I really want to know, where the heck did 404 come from?
Oh wow! Oh my God! I'm so happy to see you. So.
Okay, we gonna get the real.
So Atlanta, that's our very first area code, our very first phone area code, and until Atlanta started growing, we only had 404. Now we got 678. Now we got 770. Now we got what 470.
470.
Yeah. So 404 is our original Atlanta area code. So I have a 404. Everybody that has 404 that's truly Atlanta native are super proud of it.
Wow.
And so that's why we celebrate 404 Day.
Because my number still is 216.
Okay. And so aren't you proud of that?
I'm very proud of that. I won't get another number.
Right. I've had the same number for as long as cell phones.
So wait a minute. So when they started, it was because of you guys were proud of that number. But where did all this extra stuff come in? Was that part of it when y'all?
No. Okay, so you mean the whole celebration of 404?
Yeah.
So the whole celebration of 404. So like literally Thursday, I went to the second annual 404 fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser?
Yeah.
Okay.
So today, which is, now it's probably Sunday, but Saturday was our first 404 parade for Atlanta.
Wow.
So 404, the celebration of 404 is relatively new. I would say, if I'm guessing, less than 5 years old, maybe 10, but it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And like this year was a whole 404 weekend. So even tomorrow or Sunday, we will celebrate 404.
Y'all also got 420 coming up too.
I heard. So we were really proud of 404.
Okay.
I was even
wondering.
Our mayor is an original native Atlantean. So
what is he?
Yes.
Wow. That's that picture you see when you come in the airport.
Yes. It's from Atlanta. And Keisha Lynn's Bottoms was from Atlanta too.
Wow.
So we are super proud to be from Atlanta.
And you should be.
Yeah.
You should be. Let's see. Okay, now do you remember anything about the underground downtown?
Yes.
Because they said they used to take slaves through there.
Well, now I don't remember that part.
You know?
Okay.
Okay.
No. So my grandmother lived to 103.
Wow.
And And so I don't think she would remember Slade, but the one thing that I remember about Underground was a place we went and had an awesome, wonderful time. And, you know, we had the MARTA system, 5 Points is at Underground.
Right.
As kids and teenagers, we would go to Underground. Lots of shops, lots of art. At that time, restaurants.
It was really, really, really hopping.
Yeah.
I came here in 1990, with my sister, and she came to a Bronner Brothers hair show.
Yeah.
And that's when it was still popping at that time.
Yes.
It was like lights, camera, action. I thought I had arrived.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna move back to Atlanta.
Yeah, and there are a lot of live concerts.
Yes.
But they're bringing life back to Underground now. I know they do the Peach Drop there.
Yeah. My hotel sat right there. I dealt with that Peach Drop every year.
Okay.
I worked at the Fairfield. They didn't change the name now, but in New Orleans. But yeah, the Peach Drop was, when I first did the first Peach Drop, it was like amazing.
Yeah,
I was like,
right there. Yeah.
So
how was it?
So that you can remember as a little girl going to the
Underground, little girl, middle school, high school, all of that.
Wow. You know, when I thought about Atlanta, I thought about black people and gold teeth. Because you know, a lot of people down here in the South had gold teeth.
That's Florida.
Yeah, they had them here too.
You're right.
Yeah, they had them here.
Floridians out here.
But you know what? It was the thing.
You know what though? This is the thing. So this is what us natives really, you know, have a problem or issue with, because, like I said, Atlanta is so full of so much culture, and even like the whole, you know, reality TV shows and everything. That is not your true old Atlanta. So you're gonna find like natives that are like, we like old Atlanta. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So we like old Atlanta.
What about the restaurants over there? Like Mary Mac, she been around for a long
forever.
time.
Yeah, long time.
So that's all. And you know what? I used to love Sweet Auburn.
Yeah.
That restaurant. They had this taco. It was taco with it had lobster and shrimp in it. And it was so delicious. And after COVID, it ended up closing.
There's a lot of, now that's one thing that I know you specifically asked me about CDC, but you know, just the city itself, there were several historical, you know, like venues that did close down.
Yeah, because that was around.
Like we had a restaurant. Did you ever go to Daly's?
I did not.
Okay, so that closed after
that
COVID.
closed too.
Mix, a lot of things closed.
A lot of probably natives own those too, and locals.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the dating part. How did you meet potential partners 30 years ago? Like, or when you were in college? Did someone introduce you, or because you look like
easy?
You look like you might have been in a shell a little bit because your parents, because they kept you
close
to home.
No shell. No, don't be trying to trick me. But okay, look. First of all, 30 years ago I was 30.
Okay.
So let's go 40. Let's go 40. So straight into college. So the one good thing, like I went to the University of Georgia. It's a PWI. However, we had just as many black folk on campus as the whole AU Center in Atlanta. So we had a really good, you know, camaraderie and you know, folks to hang out with. So how we met, like the football players would always throw parties, and then you got the fraternities and sororities that would always have parties. So, you know, just kind of hanging out, and then we have a student union and
so being an AKA, you were right in the midst of everything.
The interesting thing, I did not pledge or in college.
Okay.
So, but there was still, I have plenty of friends that did. So there's always activities to go to and things like that. So, I'm trying to think. I definitely met both of my guys, you know, at a party.
At a party.
Yeah.
So
you know, because that's what college students do. Well, most of them. I mean, I know you think I'm the straight and narrow, so.
Just a little bit.
I'm a party girl. I am a party girl.
Okay. So, the guy that you met in college, did you marry him?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Okay. Now, have you been married?
I have been married.
Okay. And where did you meet him at? I'm digging.
Oh my God, I met him at a party too.
Were you?
I got married really late. I got married like when I was 38, 39.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I met him at a party, but he was part of the entertainment. He was there as a vocalist.
Got with the singer, y'all.
Yes!
He sang a note and she was on it.
That was a funny story there anyway, though.
Well, tell that story.
All right,
like
so let's
funny
tell.
stories.
Yeah, this is actually a really good story. So, some of my girlfriends and I had went to New Orleans for a Falcons game. Yes, and so one of the girls invited us out to a party that this pilot has all the time at Lake Oconee. And so we were like, okay, we'll go. And so Lake Oconee is like an hour and a half from Atlanta. So when we got there, I was like, I gotta go to the restroom. And so I'm standing in line, and it was a Halloween party, so that's what makes it really cool. It's a Halloween party that everybody dresses up. Like, you can't come to the party unless you are.
And what was you dressed as?
I was Tina Turner.
Yes.
And I was super fine.
I can see you being Tina Turner.
So I go in, and I'm like standing in the line for the restroom, and so this guy is like, you can go ahead of me. So I'm like, cool, all right. And so that was the guy. And so, I was like, he was like, who are you? I was like, I'm Tina Turner. And I was like, who are you? He's like, I'm a singer. I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden he's singing.
He was singing up on.
He was a good singer. And so anyway, that's how we met. And we got married and we had a daughter. My daughter's 20 now, but we got divorced early.
Wow.
But we get commended for being great co-parents.
Y'all better as friends and co-parents than y'all were husband.
And so yeah.
So do you think you'll get married again?
That I don't think so.
You don't? Wait a minute. Okay. Because we all, I would love another husband. A final one.
I want an Oprah Stedman. I mean, they probably married by common law.
They probably just snuck off and got married.
Yeah, so I'm cool with that.
You're probably one of the few women, or there is a percentage of women that don't want to be married. But why wouldn't you want to be married?
Well, like I said, gotta remember I got married older. Like, I was 39. I was 40 when I had my daughter.
You was 41 when you had your
40.
baby?
Yeah,
40?
40. She's turning 20. I'm 60.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm on another side of life. I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever get married. I'm just saying I don't go out meeting people saying, "Oh my God, that's my husband.
I got to get married."
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that. It's almost like a been there, done that for me. And and it's I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. If you want to get married, or if you want to, stay single and
would you live with
carry it on. So I will say this. For me, in my place in life, I think it's very important to keep what I have, and I'd love my guy to have what he has.
Okay.
And I would love for us to go, back and forth, and we can always be with each other, or, so that's where I am in my life right now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, when you know what you want and when you know how you want to live, it's simple.
Yeah.
Why complicate it?
Right. And I don't want complications.
So do you go online?
I have.
Yeah.
I probably did online dating when it wasn't popular.
Is that right? How long ago?
Like, I would say probably 20 years ago.
Wow. What site was on 20 years ago?
I'm trying to think because I knew you would ask me that. But I know for sure it was like 2018, 2019 because I started a job in 2000.
I know Tag was out then.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Because I met a guy on Tag,
remember.
and he still be inboxing me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I will say this: I have zero problems with online dating. I actually like it better than meeting somebody out.
Give us your step. How do you approach online dating?
So, of course, you got to make a profile. Now, it's because I have done it so long. Like, to me, there's all these red flags. Like, if you see a red flag, let it go. nice, bubbly profile. Tell a little about yourself. I feel like, well, I've been told that you always should have a full body picture.
Yes.
You know, and then, you know.
Because some men don't think they should have a full body picture. I want a full body picture.
Right. Like if they don't have a full body picture, swipe.
You keep going. You keep going.
Yeah.
You're hiding something.
Yes, I think so. And that's what they think about us too.
Yes.
Now, so you're asking me about what I would do. So I would, you know, share a little bit of, you know, what's fun, what you like, and that. So, like I said, I have done it over a span of 20 years, and zero problems with it. Not saying I didn't meet any like bad guys. Like I met some guys that probably shouldn't date or whatever, but I just feel like it's better than giving somebody your phone number at the, you know, like you meet somebody at the bar, you got to give them your phone number, or you're not staying in touch, you know. And I don't have a problem with that either. I'm just telling you which way I like better. Like I've met people out, and I've met people online. Have I met bad apples in both situations? Of course. And have I met great guys in both situations? Definitely.
So when you date these guys online, when is it safe enough that you're ready to move to the next step by giving them your telephone?
I think that's all gonna be discernment, and it's still gonna be some bad apples when you do that. But I think still there'll be some red flags too. Like if you're thinking about it too hard, it's probably a red flag.
Yeah, that's what I say. When you think, and you're trying to figure out a way to make him okay.
No fixing people.
Okay.
No,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, like this is my thing. When you're young, you can be young stupid. I don't think you can be old and stupid.
Right.
And I'm sorry if I'm offending some people, but maybe it's an eye opener too. Like you gotta use your discernment. You know, we're at ages now that we have to be.
You can't make a whole lot of stupid more mistakes. You know, we're at that age.
Right. Yeah.
So when you retired,
on Monday.
You just retired? Good for you.
March 31st.
So you don't even know what you're going to do with yourself.
I do.
What are you going to do?
So this is going to be funny.
What is your next step in life? What are you going to be when you grow up again?
Okay, so I had a company called Dolls to Divas. And
I seen that on your...
Yes, I'm thinking about starting back doing some things with Dolls to Divas.
Okay, explain Dolls.
Okay, so Dolls to Divas, I would work with middle school girls, and my main hashtag these days, what they call it, is image is key. So just talk about image, with, you know, as far as your personality, how you carry yourself, and also your body image, being very comfortable in the person you are, also being very comfortable in the person that you want to be. And I would introduce them to, you know, different women, different careers. We do a lot of field trips. We learn table etiquette.
Absolutely.
Things like that. And so I had 2 separate cohorts. One set of girls are definitely in their 30s, and one set right now in college. So,
okay.
So that and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Are you planning on doing some traveling and going out and hanging out with a guy friend?
Yes.
Do you have somebody that you're dating right now?
So okay. So I wouldn't say I have anybody that I'm dating. I have a really good friend that we usually talk every day. But he is away. He's not in Atlanta, and I'm in Atlanta. So we'll see how that happens. The crazy thing is, too, is the guy that I met, like, when I first started working at the gym. So we talking 30 years ago. So kind of like a full circle kind of thing.
Wow.
So I would, but both of us, we still are like, you know, we're great friends. And that's what we both need to be, is great friends.
Well, you know, they say when you friends first, the rest of it just fall in place.
Yeah, but I'm still open to dating.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me this. How's your understanding of love and relationships evolved over the years?
Okay.
Because you said
so
a little
let's talk
bit
about love first and
Okay.
then relationships.
Okay.
So my understanding or my perspective on love is I think as little girls, especially from a girl's perspective, we really are brought up on Disney movies, the princess and the king and the knight in shining
Snow
armor.
White bite the apple.
Right. And you know, he's gonna come through and make your life beautiful, and you're gonna have a house with picket fence and the dogs and the kids and all that. And that
made me dizzy just
that
thinking of all that.
Yeah. So everybody's looking for that definition of love. So definitely, as you grow older, you see that's really not truly what love is. And I started looking back at what I saw in my parents. You know, the whole true for real love, like having your back, and you know, even the things about, you know, right now you can't work, I will, and vice versa.
Right.
You know, definitely being grounded religiously. You know, in whatever religion.
What's your faith?
Right, your faith. Right.
But being friends, friends. You know, I don't know. I think my ex-husband and I were friends, but I don't think I've had a friend first in a relationship. And I'm sure your parents got to the point where they were strictly friends. You know, being together for so long.
Yeah, and you know, you got to think about, they met in the 50s, 60s, probably like late 50s, 60s. You know, so love was real love then. You know, I think we've kind of gotten away from that, and I would love to see it come back.
Yes, me
so
too.
You know, for me, so my whole thing about, you know, back to the marriage thing, I think my perspective of what I've seen and grown up in, like if it can't be that, I'm almost like, you know what I'm saying? So
that love where y'all walk past each other and be like,
yeah, and there is that kind of love, and I hope that we can get back to that, you know, loving on each other, especially with this day and time.
Well, with being over 50, I am seeing similar with being over 50 as I'm seeing with, I flew with a young lady, and she was 30 years old, and she told me she had never been in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
So I asked her why, and she said, because they don't want to commit.
Yes.
And that's the same thing that I'm seeing in other relationships with people, or even my own experience, is nobody wants to commit.
Yeah, sadly, the divorce rate is extremely high. So, you know, it's a reality. Like, you know, people ask my daughter all the time, you don't date nobody? You ain't got no boyfriend? You know, but she's kind of, you know, she has standards too. So, you know, we're in a day and time where things are just very different and dynamics are different. But, you know, hopefully, I mean, there is real love out there, and I love when I see young people that, you know, out on dates and stuff. So yeah, I love love, and so I might, you know, like some people might say, oh, she's just too picky or whatever. No, I love love. I know what love is. I have seen love.
You grew up with it.
Yeah, and I'm not just talking about just my parents, like my aunts and uncles. Like we like a lot of love.
It was a family. You've seen couples together that really loved each other. Your family, everybody got together and hung out all the time, and you were surrounded by love.
Yes.
And I am like so in love with love. I love to see people in love. And then I'll be talking to God like, oh, okay, am I ever gonna get that again? and now I'm not trying to pressure it or rush it.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself like, just like, okay, I'm getting older, what's gonna happen?
No.
You don't. You just.
I feel like I have some friends that recently married over the past 5 years. You know, second marriages.
They got married at what age?
Like 55, 53, 54, 50. So, and I will say this: when I turned 50, I always thought, oh my God, this is old and people don't date, and no, that is not true. So, I just think it's about where do we meet people, good people, where do good people hang out? Because good people hang out and good, and just kind of figuring that out and, going from there to the relationship really quickly. So, I feel like you kind of touched on it already. A lot of the generation now, and I don't know if it's a generation or the era,
Right.
because it's, you know, it's like older people, younger people, like it's like people are afraid to commit.
Yes.
And that's a question you have to ask people. Why are you afraid to commit? And I think you have to ask a group of guys that and a group of young ladies that. Why are you afraid to commit? What is it, right? So.
Well, we're getting ready to have a show on that. Why am I still single? Am I scarred or am I scared? You're going to be on that panel as well. And I want to know why. The thing of it is, okay, I got hurt a year ago. But I'm still not scared to move forward in a relationship. But it has to be.
The right person,
we have
right?
to be friends. And,
Yeah.
you know, I understand now how important friendship is.
Yes, yes.
You know, and you grew up around that by your parents,
So I
your
believe
aunties,
it.
your uncles. You know, you grew up around that. That's an amazing, and you know how to sit back and wait for it.
And I know how a man should treat a lady.
Absolutely. You
So,
watch.
you know, that in itself, you know, is a big deal to me. And, you know, I don't think chivalry's dead. You know, I think there's always some greatness.
I think there's some chivalry that's out there in a lot of guys, but some of them has gotten so played by women.
So men are scared too.
Absolutely.
It's like everybody's scared.
Everybody's scared.
Right?
And nobody's
That's a
in
good
a
point.
relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're losing out on life.
We are.
You know, we really are.
Cause
You
I
know?
work for an airline. I'll be done saying, boo, look, there's a flight leave in about 2 hours. Get to
Right.
the airport. I'm gonna meet you in Seattle. Or I'm gonna meet you in San Francisco. I can go anywhere.
That's my kind of life.
Okay.
Like,
That's what and there's guys that try to talk to me like, oh, you gonna give me a ticket? No, I ain't giving you no ticket.
Right. Because you gotta
No.
prove why you deserve one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And and it's both ways.
Right. So
We
yeah.
have to prove both ways
Right.
that we're worthy of each other. And I'm not saying you got to sit here and every day prove to me that you are worthy, because it should be natural.
Exactly, and that's the main point. You gotta hang out together, you gotta spend time together. Like, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I have a friend, she met a guy, and he might not have been her perfect guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so sometimes you gotta get out of the height and the size and all these other things. But he's a guy that she has a great time with. They have a good time. They're doing concerts together, they're doing movies together, they sit at home together, they work, you know, they are.
Are they just friends or?
So they're developing. So now I think they're, you know, dating.
It's starting to.
But it took time. You know, they started hanging out as friends. You know, like again, she was like, "Well, you really weren't my type or whatever." But you know, as friends, you know, they spend more.
God know your
and then
type.
you have right, and then you have similarities, and you have things that you like to do. Here's this guy that likes to do them too. I think everybody likes companionship.
Yes.
And for me, I mean, I got a lot of girlfriends, and I have several friends that are guys that are like my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I like companionship.
Yes.
You know, so
That's the most important part, because I like to cook, you know, and I like to show me a healthy meal, and I like to perfect it and see if I can do it. And I like to cook for a man, and I like for us to hang out while I'm cooking, talking. You know, I have to move away from what my body wants, because my body won't. My body want to run things, okay, and I can't let it.
Right,
You know, I got to be a friend first.
Right,
So I'm
right.
working on that.
Yeah, and I think that goes both ways too, women and men.
Yes.
You know, and women feel like, okay, I'll tell you something that's different from being young and being an older woman. As a young woman, especially, you know, for me with my parents, you grow up feeling guilty about,
Yes.
you know, things, right? And then it's something like when you turn 50, you be like, whatever.
Whatever.
You start
Like, at this
realizing that-
age, you be
right?
like-
You just start realizing, like, everybody not playing by the same rules, like, you know, and they don't. Men don't play by the same rules as women do.
Right.
And women are more emotional than men are. So I'm trying to teach my daughter that. You know, you have to you need to know a man. Women need men friends so you can understand a man.
Right.
And so this is what I always say. Don't look at that guy as being your husband, your main man, or whatever. That guy might be your friend that teaches you about men.
He might be in your life for a reason.
Yeah.
Now tell me, how do you feel about friends with benefits? Y'all see how big? You see how big she smiled on that one?
I mean, a friend with benefits. It's a man I know. Like I said, we're at a different age now, right? It's okay to friends with benefits is a good thing. You know, maybe that's what I'm saying. You remember?
You think that's what you how you want it right now?
Yeah.
Friends with benefits.
Good friends, good benefits, good time. Let's live life.
Okay, I heard it from Miss 404. Okay.
Okay.
So, tell me about a time when you were young. Do you remember anything about Martin Luther King? I know
Of course.
Okay, so share a little bit, because you see, when you are from Atlanta, and I love to hear history from someone that's a native.
All right, so I will say this. My memories are still going to be things that I saw on TV, but because we're in Atlanta and the civil rights movement was so huge, what I remember is sitting around with my grandmother and my parents, and like all of them used to march and everything, but just like his sermons and
Your parents used to march.
yeah, like that's why, like I told, remember I said old school Atlanta folks,
Yes.
serious about old school Atlanta, because Atlanta is about the civil rights movement. So many people came through Atlanta and to make a change,
Yes.
to give us rights, to give us, the power, to do things, and we have done them. We have very successful people in Atlanta that native Atlanteans or just got a lot of history here. So you asked me about Martin Luther King. So yes, I think he might have died.
He died in 64.
Yeah, and I was born in 64. So I'm wondering if it was 64 or 69. I can't remember specifically that. But
No, it was 69.
yeah.
I believe.
So I was old enough to kind of remember, like I said, things on TV. And then I grew up going to the King Center and just any things around town that are.
Yeah, when I first got here, I used to go to the church, the old church.
Yeah.
And I would sit in there, and that man would captivate me, because they would have his sermons going, different sermons, and I would sit there for hours at a time.
And just think how young he was.
Yes.
Like he was a young man preaching like that.
Yes.
So history of Atlanta is super important to me.
Wow. So when you have grandchildren, because I'm sure one day you will, what memory will you hold on to instill so they can pass that on? Because the thing of it is, we're losing a lot of history that our children, that we're not instilling in our kids, so they can tell our,
So what we do need to be very mindful. That's a good point. Like the administration, the people running our country have taken history out of schools and out of institutions. We are responsible for making sure our kids know, just like my parents were responsible. So now my daughter, as a matter of fact, I'm not gonna say my dad's name, but there's a stadium named after my dad in Atlanta, and it's because he made he's made some really big movements, and is just really into making sure the north end of the town, the south end of town, the kids got the same type of education and sports things or whatever. And so I'm making sure my daughter know about her granddaddy, because he was deceased by the time she was born. And in that, we learn more history about Atlanta and just history in itself. So we're responsible.
So your dad, because he was an educator, of course, he got out there and fought to be able to have the same thing that our counterparts had in their school as well. Mm-hmm. And there's a stadium.
Yeah.
You can tell me off camera. Y'all know I want to know. And you should be proud.
I am, but I mean, I'm like, still, it's my parents' reputation here.
Okay. They did some good things. They did some some great things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they was educators, because everybody can't be a teacher.
Right.
Okay.
And my parents are educators.
And I commend them, because, and then today's kids, to be able to teach them and all the distractions that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is challenging.
They have a lot of distractions.
We have a lot going on. We as a people gotta get it together.
Yes.
And support each other. I think this might be the timing, you know. There's so much happening. It's timing for our culture to bring it in, support each other in all kind of ways.
Tell me this. What advice would you give to a younger generation navigating the dating today?
Okay, so I always say, number one, don't look for that certain kind of guy.
That preference.
I'm speaking for a woman's perspective, so I'm not gonna speak for men. But for young ladies, I always say, don't always look for the look. You know, look for that brain.
That preference.
Look for that person that's really trying to go out there and, you know, make a change, or just very goal oriented. Somebody's gonna treat you really nicely. You know, look for that friend. I might have said that a million times already. But yeah, look for the guy that likes you. You know, so many times we're going after the guy that could care less about us.
Yes.
Get a guy that's giving you some attention back.
But first of all, education is real important to you.
I would say this: education, or just make sure you can be an entrepreneur. Whatever is like money, like I don't care what nobody say, money do matter.
It does.
You cannot do anything that you enjoy in life without money. So it doesn't mean you're a gold digger. It means you're driven. What are you gonna do without making money?
That's true. That's true. Then, if you, the type of guy that you would look for, tell my audience.
Okay, so my first word used to be tall, but honestly,
I know. All the short women
we're sitting down. Y'all can't see
We're
how
both tall.
we really are. We're like almost 6 feet,
Okay.
flat-footed. So I like guys that make me laugh.
Yes.
I like guys that can cook. My father could cook
It's
so
so
well.
sexy when a man can cook.
Yes, and my brother can cook very well. And my uncles. I'm used to men that can cook. So, but what's going to capture me is the ability to make me laugh. Because I feel like then you're kind of breaking down some barriers.
Yes.
I feel comfortable with
Yes.
good conversation. Those two, you know. Good conversation make me laugh. And then, you know, we'll go from there and see if we really. But I think those two are like barrier. You know, that breaks down the barrier for me. I love to talk to people.
Me too.
I like a good conversation.
That's my love language.
Mm-hmm.
That communication. So what I did hear you say, and I'm just gonna run it back. Your preference could really talk you out of a great guy.
Yes.
Because we look for these fine men, tall, good looking. But let me tell you something. You can fall in love with a person's heart. And I love that show, Love is Blind.
Okay.
Because I like being I need to be behind a wall and date somebody for a while before I can see them. You know, because then your heart
to
meets.
be an online dater.
I
Because
could
all you're doing is going by their pictures.
Yes.
Now, what if you got catfished?
That is true.
Because you could be getting catfished on the Love is Blind.
Yes.
So honestly, that's basically the same thing. You just meeting a little quicker.
Yes.
So back to that whole online. That's what I like about online. I think it forces you to talk, to get to know each other, and you will be more aware of red flags. You should be.
Yes.
Might not be, but it'll teach you to be more
How to
aware.
spot it.
Yes. Yep. But again, I like meeting people out too, though.
So
But
her
yeah.
preference is someone who make her laugh. I am getting ready to do. People think I'm a matchmaker now. I got 2 guys that want me to match them up with someone.
Okay.
One of the guys is from New York, and he's moving to south. And he's our age, maybe a little older. Then the other guy is 39 and he loves older.
Oh, so let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
Because I know you leading the conversation. So here's my deal. Younger men have always been attracted to me.
For some reason. They always.
and there used to be a running joke in my family. Like, is he at least on his, whatever.
So you date?
So yeah. So like my ex-husband was younger than me. The last guy I dated was younger than me.
How much younger? What's your age?
Like my ex-husband was only like 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
The last guy I dated was probably about 13 years younger than me.
How low will you go?
And honestly, that like, it took me a long time to be like, okay, like at least 2 years. But he was very persistent.
How old was
he? He was like 39, 40. But one thing I can say, very mature and very persistent. And I had to ask myself, so what's wrong with him other than his age? And a lot of my, like everybody loved him, liked him a lot. It was like.
Your daughter didn't have an issue
No.
with you dating somebody?
So at first she did. She was like, because she figured it out. I think one day she asked him what year he graduated from high school. So she was very smart
So she
about how
figured
she
it.
approached it. So then she's like, Mommy, why are you dating somebody younger, like that young? Da, da, da. And so I explained to her, I said, I got girlfriends the same age that I hang out with. That same age as him. They invite me to their 40-year-old parties or whatever. I said, so that keeps me young. So what's the difference with having a good friend that's a girl that's that age and a guy that wants to treat you really nice at that age? So
what happened with that?
So for me, he had younger kids, so I'm talking
Child
young,
support.
like, listen, when you have younger kids, then that, if he's gonna be a great man, he needs to spend time with his kids.
Yes.
So you got a kid in middle school, 2 kids in middle school, and a kid in high school. At first, I thought I could deal with it, but when my daughter went off to college, I think I never noticed the time because my daughter was in high school when I met him. So we both were doing things with our kids and made time for ourselves afterwards. But then my daughter went off to college.
You had that.
Right. I was like, what happened? And she even said, what happened to him? And he was like, my kids are back in school. I got activities. Somebody in band, somebody playing soccer. So for me, that honestly was it. So I think when you are dating, and especially at our age, you do need to be really clear about what you desire. Like if you need time, you might not need to date a guy that has kids in grade school. Kids in college is different because kids in college are independent pretty much.
So you saying matching? You saying matching up your time? It's crazy to go out here and get a guy that got small because I don't want no small children running around. I don't have the patience for that anymore, except for my grandson.
Right.
But then I can send him home. I can get tired of him too.
Right?
I can send him home too.
Yes, because the one thing for us, like you just said, like the guy I meet, you're a flight attendant, you're ready to go. You could be in Cancun one day, Tulum the other day, London one day, but you can't do that if your guy has kids in grade school. And so you gotta be realistic. So one thing I do say is that there's one thing to dream and think you're gonna, like how we talked about trying to change people. You cannot change a person. You cannot change their situation.
No.
So you gotta figure out what works for you. Yeah.
Okay, so now we've sat down and talked to Miss 404. That's what I'm calling her because she's a native. She gave us a lot of insight. We're going to come back after these questions, but we want to thank her for being on our podcast. So after this commercial, we'll be back. My final thoughts for today's show. We want to thank Miss 404, is what I call her, Tonya Freeman, for joining us. We really learned a lot. So next week, we're going to have our pilot. She's a female black pilot, and she is going to, she got so much stuff going on. It's going to be amazing. Then after that, we have, who's after that? We have, why am I single? Am I scarred or am I scared? So that's coming up as well. So with my final thoughts, Human Trafficking Awareness Event. Date is going to be June 28, 2025. Our location is Cleveland, Ohio. The event aims to raise awareness about human sex trafficking, educate the community, and support survivors. Participants can expect expert speakers, advocates sharing insight on how to combat trafficking. We're going to have a small workshop to give us that information to take us to the next step. If you ever see human trafficking around you, this workshop will kind of help you to kind of focus on it and to be able to spot it when you see it. We're going to connect with local organizations and activists. By participating, you can help shine a light on this critical issue. You can also learn how to recognize to contribute to fight against it. Get involved. Follow updates, social media, and consider volunteering or donating to support the cause. Together, we can make a difference. For more information, visit the Diary of Dating Over 50 website. It will take you to my it will take you to my Facebook right now, but there will be more information. But we're also going to have few dating at this event, and that's my take on Family Feud. So please stay tuned. Y'all help me with this. There is a big issue of trafficking out here, and I'm going to bring it in fun and laughter, but it's not a laughing matter. But it's going to bring people together for us to be able to have fun and shine the light on this. Thank you again. This is Tonya R. Lewis with the Diary of Dating Over 50. See you next time.